All right, let's dive right into one of the most fascinating and, let's be honest, debated chapters in the whole Bible, Revelation 7. We're going to unpack the mystery of two huge groups of people that show up at the end of times, all based on an analysis from the Midnight Cry channel. You know, a lot of people think that if you can get this chapter right, the rest of the prophecies start to fall into place.
So right off the bat, the chapter hits us with this incredible puzzle. You've got two different crowds, one with a very specific exact number and another that's so massive you can't even count it. So, are they the same group just seen in two different ways? Or are they totally separate? This question is at the very heart of the end-time story, so let's dig in and see what we find.
Okay, so let's start our investigation with that first group mentioned, the 144,000. It's a very specific, numbered assembly, and according to the interpretation we're looking at, figuring out who they are is a major key to unlocking everything else.
I mean, the text could not be more explicit about this number. Exactly 144,000. Now, a lot of interpretations see this as symbolic, right? Like it represents the entire church. But the analysis we're exploring today says, hold on a minute. It argues this is not symbolic at all, but a literal, limited number for a very specific group of people.
So in this view, these are not just saved people in general. No way. They're a really distinct group, called God's servants. They're sealed, which means they're marked for God's protection and set apart for a super unique, super important mission in the last days. Their role is all about action. They're on a mission.
Okay, so now let's shift gears and look at the second group, the Great Multitude. And what's really interesting here is the timing. They pop up on the scene right after the 144,000 are sealed. And as we're about to see, that sequence is no accident. It's the whole key to understanding how they're connected.
And wow, talk about a contrast. The first group was precise, limited. This second group, it's defined by being immeasurable, uncountable. The text literally says it's a crowd that no one could count. We're talking about a totally different scale here.
This huge group is the global, diverse body of believers. These are the saved, coming from every country, every tribe, every language on the planet. And what's their defining feature? They have all come out of a period of intense trial, a time known as the Great Tribulation.
So this brings us to the million-dollar question, right? Are these two groups just different ways of describing the same people, or are they completely different? Well, the interpretation we're looking at offers a third option. They are absolutely distinct, but they are deeply connected. And that relationship is the key to this whole chapter.
And this right here, this slide is where it all clicks. It's a relationship of cause and effect. Think about it. The 144,000 are the cause. They're a small group of servants on a mission. Their job, to preach a final message to the whole world, is what produces the result, the great multitude, an uncountable number of believers from all nations who have made it through the trial. One group's mission directly leads to the other group's salvation. It's that direct.
Okay, so if the Great Multitude comes out of the Great Tribulation, then we really need to understand what that is. This interpretation doesn't see the tribulation as just a time of random suffering, but as the specific backdrop for God's incredible plan of protection. Now, this is really crucial. This analysis doesn't frame the tribulation as a time when God has abandoned his people, not at all. It's presented as a final, intense test of faith for believers, a time that actually purifies and prepares them for what's coming next.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly. This isn't about aimless suffering. No. Instead, what we see is a very clear, divine plan of protection. The test of the tribulation leads believers to get divine guidance, which then leads them to a place of complete protection and provision. It's a process.
This powerful promise is made to the great multitude. But here's the kicker from the source material. This isn't just a nice metaphor for what heaven will be like later. No, this is describing their physical reality during the tribulation, a state of total safety inside a divinely prepared place of refuge right here on earth.
So, this place of refuge isn't just a vague idea. The analysis we're following describes it as a real, physical provision of safety, a place where God's people are literally sheltered, fed, and shielded from the disasters happening in the world all around them.
So after going through all these intricate details, the two groups, the tribulation, this place of refuge, what's the big takeaway? Why does this interpretation of a 2,000-year-old text actually matter to us today?
You know, the most important thing to get is this. This way of understanding Revelation 7 transforms it from something that causes confusion and fear into a roadmap of hope. It shows a God who isn't far off, but who is meticulously planning, giving out specific jobs, and providing protection for his people, even in the middle of total chaos.
And that's really the final, challenging thought this interpretation leaves us with. It suggests this chapter isn't just information for us to debate about, but a revelation for us to actually receive. It calls for us to respond with faith and hope, trusting in this detailed plan of protection. So the ultimate question isn't just, who are these groups? But maybe, are we ready to trust the plan?